Here we go. Boom. Okay, now I'm ready to go. Regular Thursday night offering from Refuge Recovery World Services. I'm Noah. Welcome everybody. And just as a reminder, as a point of clarification, this is not a Refuge Recovery meeting. Refuge Recovery meetings are peer-led with rotating leadership. This is actually a teacher-led, since I am the founder and I wrote the book. I decided that we would offer from the nonprofit a group each week where we go through the book and we talk about refuge recovery. But this is much different than what you are used to doing, which is going through and discussing it together in a peer-led space. So just as a point of clarification. I started saying that because a couple people told me that they were coming to my refuge meeting on Thursday nights, and I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that the refuge meetings are different and are much better than this. So we're actually coming to the end of the guided meditations. We have Appreciative Joy tonight and Equanimity next week. And then we'll continue Thursdays for a while, but maybe we'll go back through the book a bit, or just shift into some other topics. And but I'm happy to be doing this as long as people are showing up and benefiting from it. I'm happy to continue donating my time to the Sangha. And again, welcome. So let's just jump into meditation, and I'll lead the meditation right out of the book. This is towards the end. It starts on page 266, and then we will have some discussion about how this applies to our recovery after the meditation. So find a way to sit upright, relaxed. Appreciative Joy meditation. Find a comfortable way to sit and allow your eyes to close. Bring attention into the present time experience of the body. Relax any physical tension that is being held in the body by softening the belly. Relax the eyes and jaw, and allow your shoulders to naturally fall away from the head. After a short period of settling into present time awareness, begin to reflect on your deepest desire for happiness or freedom from suffering. Allow your heart's truest longing for truth and well-being to come into consciousness. With each breath, breathe into the heart center the acknowledgement and appreciation of the joy and happiness you have experienced in your life. Slowly begin to silently offer yourself appreciative and encouraging phrases with the intention to uncover the heart's sometimes hidden response of gratitude. Your phrases can be as simple as the following: May I learn to appreciate the happiness and joy I experience. May the joy I experience continue and grow. May I be filled with gratitude and non-attached appreciation. If those phrases do not mean anything to you, create your own words to meditate on. Find a few simple phrases that have an appreciative intention and simply begin to offer those well wishes to yourself. As you sit in meditation, repeating these phrases in your mind, the attention will be drawn, as with mindfulness meditation, back into thinking about other things or resisting and judging the practice or your own capacity for appreciation and gratitude. It takes a gentle and persistent effort to return to the next phrase each time the attention wanders. May I learn to appreciate the happiness and joy I experience. Feel the breath and the body's response to each phrase. May the joy I experience grow. Notice where the mind goes with each phrase. May I be filled with gratitude and non-attached appreciation. Allow the mind and body to relax into the reverberations of each phrase. Simply repeat these phrases over and over to yourself, like a kind of mantra or statement of positive intention. But don't expect to instantly feel grateful through this practice. Sometimes all we see is our lack of appreciation and the judging mind's resistance. Simply acknowledge what is happening and continue to repeat the phrases, being as friendly and merciful with yourself as possible in the process. Now bring the attention back to the breath and body. Again, relaxing into the posture. Then bring someone to mind who's been beneficial for you to know or know of, who has inspired you or brought joy to your life. Recognize that just as you wish to be happy and successful in life, and that your benefactor too shares that universal desire to be met with encouragement, support, and appreciation. Begin offering him or her the phrases. Slowly repeat each phrase with that person in mind as the object of your well-wishing. Just as I wish to learn to appreciate the happiness and joy in life, may you too experience joy. May you be filled with appreciation for your happiness and success. May your happiness and joy increase. May you be successful and met with appreciation. Continue offering these phrases from your heart to your benefactors. Develop the feeling of appreciation in relation to the joy and success of others. When the mind gets lost in a story, memory, or fantasy, simply return to the practice. Begin again, offering appreciation and gratitude to the benefactor. Now let the benefactor go and return to your direct experience of the breath and body. Pay extra attention to your heart or emotional experience. Then bring to mind someone who you do not know well, someone who is neutral, someone you neither love nor hate, perhaps someone you don't know at all, a person you saw here today or walking down the street or in traffic, with the understanding that the desire for joy is universal. Begin offering that person the appreciative phrases. May your happiness and joy increase. May the joy in your life continue and grow. May you be successful and met with appreciation. Now bring attention back to your breath and body. Then expand the practice to include family and friends toward whom your feelings may be mixed, both loving and at times difficult. May your happiness and joy increase. May the joy in your lives continue and grow. May you be successful and met with appreciation. Now bring attention back to your breath and body. And then expand the practice to include the difficult people in your life and in the world. By difficult, we mean those whom you have put out of your heart, those towards whom you feel jealous or hold resentment. even with the most basic understanding of human nature, it will become clear that all beings wish to be met with appreciation. All beings, even the annoying, unskillful, violent, confused, and greedy, wish to experience joy. With this in mind, and with the intention to free yourself from jealousy, fear, and ill will, allow someone who is the source of difficulty in your mind or heart to be the object of your appreciation meditation. Meet that person with the same phrases, paying close attention to your heart-mind's response. May your happiness and joy increase. May the joy in your life continue and grow. May you be successful and met with appreciation. Now let's begin to expand the field of appreciation to all those who are in your immediate vicinity. Start by sending phrase of appreciation to everyone in this Zoom room with us. Then gradually expand to those in your town or city, allowing your positive intention of meeting everyone with appreciation to spread out in all directions. Imagine covering the whole world with these positive thoughts. Send appreciation to the north and south, east and west. Radiate gratitude and appreciation to all beings in existence, those above and below, the seen and the unseen, those being born and those who are dying. With a boundless and friendly intention, begin to repeat the phrases of appreciative joy. May all beings experience happiness and joy. May the joy in this world continue and grow. May all beings be successful and met with appreciation. Now it is time to let go of the phrases and bring attention back to your breath and body. Investigating the sensations and emotions that are present now. Then, whenever you are ready, allow your eyes to open and your attention to come back to your surroundings. Offer a few reflections on this practice and the importance of this practice, and how difficult it is, and how it's a bit counter to some of our instinctual drives to meet ourselves and others, and especially difficult people, with appreciation. One of the issues here is that the reality for us human beings, based on our survival instinct, is that we're not great at retaining pleasant memories. We're not great at appreciating the impermanent, pleasant experiences that come through our life. Our natural tendency is to try to cling to them, keep them, as we all know, to become addicted to pleasant experiences. We're not good at non-attached appreciation. is not natural. And not just for us addicts, for all people, everyone that has a survival instinct, that, the second noble truth of craving being repetitive, because we're not satisfied by pleasure. We need more. We need the next pleasure. I was reading a neuroscience study at one point about the different ways that our human brain relates to stimulus, pleasant stimulus and painful, pleasant experiences, painful. And they said it's almost like the part of our mind that experiences pleasure is like Teflon. Like pleasure just slides right off. Which is one of the reasons why we're constantly like, wait, where'd it go? I want more. Wait, it's gone. I want more. It just slides right off. And so one of the reasons, I don't care that much what science says, but it's sort of nice when science explains it in this way. And then it normalizes for all of us of like, oh, that's why it's like this. It's Teflon. That's why I'm constantly craving for the next pleasant experience. I don't hang around and enjoy it, and I'm not good at that. I want to keep it, and I can't keep it. The other side of that was, they said, the part of our mind that remembers pain, that stores the kind of sense impression memory of pain, they said it's like Velcro. Pleasure slides right off. Pain is like, remember that pain. Remember. You notice that about your mind? And so the Buddha knew this, and he said, okay, because that's how the mind is, craving is repetitive, and we're not good at, develop a practice of appreciating the impermanent, pleasant experiences that arise and pass through us. This is a lot of what we're doing in mindfulness. He said, but also there's another great opportunity here for joy. And that's not, and it's, the core of it is empathy. Is getting out of our self-centered, I, me, mine tendencies and opening to each other, opening to the world, opening to the connections that we have with empathy. Sometimes this practice, I chose to call it appreciative joy in this context. Sometimes it's translated as empathetic joy, sympathetic or empathetic joy. Most of the time, I think about empathy as in the realm of compassion, empathizing with somebody who's having a difficult time, caring about somebody who's suffering, empathy for our friends that are, for the world. It's usually, I feel in my own conditioning, you can look at your own mind, that empathy usually, I think of it in this context of towards stuff that's difficult, that's painful. But the reality is, empathy means feeling with. And so if somebody is in pain, empathy is feeling their pain with them. That's part of what compassion is. Being open, feeling with. But when there's joy, and there's a lot of fucking joy around, if you look for it, if you're paying attention, empathy means feeling someone else's joy. Appreciating and feeling and enjoying, celebrating, whatever we want to call it, someone else's happiness, your friends, the stranger on the street, I heard at one point that like some of the most heavily kind of watched the viral are like children laughing, or, like there's part of us that like just, like when you see a baby laughing or feels so good. I love that. Just like empathizing with, funny cat things or children or whatever it is that brings you a bit of joy. It's why we watch comedies or with 7 billion, what is it, almost 8 billion humans on the planet. It's so easy because of our survival instinct and our kind of fight or flight threats to just look at what's wrong. So easy to look at you can look at this world, and depending on the lens you're looking into, be like, wow, it's all suffering around here. And first noble truth is true. There's a lot of suffering. Everyone has some. But, the first noble truth, 2.0 is that also everyone experiences joy. Everyone experiences suffering. Also, everyone experiences some level of happiness. Pain is unavoidable. Pleasure is also unavoidable. Some of you've tried very hard to avoid pleasure, and you became very spiritual, and renunciation, and this is the Buddha's story. He said, I spent years trying to avoid pleasure. I was an ascetic. I tortured my body. But I couldn't avoid, not only couldn't I avoid pleasure, because sometimes the sun would hit me just right in the forest and it just felt so good. He said, but also, no matter how much I avoided pleasure, it didn't get rid of my craving for pleasure. I still wanted it. So this is the awakening that he had and that we're going for in our recovery. It's so tricky for us as addicts because, those, of course, the substances and behaviors that started out as pleasant experiences that turned into the cause of our, extra suffering in our life. And so many of us can become very cautious about like, oh, I better not, that's kind of pleasant. I might get addicted to that, which is true. So we have to be a bit cautious around how we indulge in pleasure. But there's nowhere that recovery or, Buddhism, the Dharma, is telling us to avoid pleasure. It's about developing this skill, this awakened quality of non-attached appreciation to appropriate pleasures. And it's difficult, and we are, finding that balance. Well, I want to say one other thing, and then that can throw a lot of us off here. I'm like, well, because this is also the opposite of empathy. Opposite of jealousy. It is empathy. It's empathetic, empathizing with each other's happiness. It's the opposite of jealousy, that kind of self-centered, I feel threatened by your success, by your happiness, by your abundance, whatever it is. But it can throw us off because there's the word success in the practice. And especially when we're talking about our enemies, and maybe you have big resentments against, the billionaire class. And you're like, I really have to send appreciative joy to these guys and wish them more success after. So I just want to unpack this and say that the core of it is wishing for continued happiness and success for those people that are earning it in a appropriate way. Does this make sense? If somebody's a sociopath and they really are happy about hurting people, that's not an appropriate object of your appreciative joy. Be like, what, they look like they're having a great time destroying the planet. Not an appropriate object. Actually, they need compassion because of their confusion, their delusion, their ignorance. Just because somebody appears to be happy while hurting others doesn't mean they're truly happy. They're in a delusion. That's not true joy. That's not true happiness. That's deep confusion. So we have to look a bit deeper. We have to understand that if you're uber successful based on oppression and, unbridled capitalism that's destroying the planet, not an appropriate object of appreciative joy. Compassion, forgiveness, seeing the suffering of greed. What's really happening there is the suffering of greed. Does this make sense? I hope this makes sense. Because the reason I clarify it in this way is because I've struggled a lot with this practice of, how do I, wish happiness for people that I know are so filled with ignorance, no matter how successful they are. I know that their success is earned by lying and cheating and stealing and oppressing and destroying the, communities or planets or families. Or I don't want to wish for them to be more successful. I actually want them to fail miserably at their attempts to cause harm, out of compassion for the harm that they cause. I hope that's, so just framing this as, and maybe I should have framed it better in the instructions, but framing it as we're wishing for the continued success that is earned well, that and really about like people's true happiness, which is not material. We know the material and the sensual world, a fucking dead end. So really we're wishing like a empathizing and caring about the spiritual happiness, the awakening, the recovering. Like in recovery, when you see somebody come in and they're really suffering, and then a couple weeks or a couple months and they're starting to smile and they're like, this isn't that bad. And, I'm kind of digging this. And you just feel so, that's like such an appropriate, that person is doing the work and they're earning some freedom, some happiness. Such an appropriate object of this appreciative joy. All right, I could go on and on, but I hope that those points help clarify empathy and looking deeply at, how people are earning their happiness and making sure that it's a skillful, worthy recipient of our appreciative joy. Questions, comments, clarifications? Dean, jump in. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just unmuted.
Yeah.
So I have a question regarding, excuse me, I guess I would call it a sense of guilt. When you see so many people suffering and you are empathetic to their pain, but you yourself are in a period of joy and satisfaction and serenity, and you feel like you don't deserve it, that other people deserve it more than you. How do you address that?
More loving kindness practice. More of the, from the Buddhist perspective, that feeling of unworthiness is a delusion. You are not unworthy. Nobody's more worthy, right? But it's a very common experience that so many of us have. The comparing mind comes in and says, oh, I'm not, more worthy. Maybe I'm less worthy, especially as addicts with a history of wreckage. We're like, well, I did all of this terrible shit and now I'm happy. And these people seem like good people and they're suffering so much. And so it's natural for there to be some of that, but it's confusion from the Buddha, So that's why my first answer, more loving kindness. The more that we send that and internalize, may I be at ease, may I be happy, may I be free from suffering. I wish, there's the place where the Buddha says we could search the whole world and never find anybody more worthy than ourselves. Because you are a Buddha, because you have Buddha nature, because you've done the work to awaken, to recover, you're purifying your own karma. You've earned your happiness. You're worthy of your own happiness. There's that place where the Buddha touches the earth after enlightenment, when his own mind is having this same attack of like, why do you think you're worthy, Siddhartha, of awakening? And he touches the earth and he says, because I'm part of this planet and we're all worthy. There is no hierarchy of worthiness here. We are all the four elements, interconnected, interdependent, and karmically responsible for our actions, as is everyone else. So the more we do the loving kindness, the more we understand that, then those thoughts, the unworthiness will come up and we meet them with compassion. We meet that thought with forgiveness.
Yeah, it's just really difficult because I've come to realize that I was not a good person.
Yeah.
And there are regrets.
Yep.
And it just kind of wells up sometimes.
Of course. And regret is healthy. This is important. We should all have regret for the ways that we've harmed ourselves and harmed other people. What you said, like not all of the times where we haven't been good people, where we've been unskillful, where we've been. Regret is the absolutely appropriate feeling when we cause harm to each other or to ourselves. No matter how awakened we get, how recovered, how I don't think it takes away the regret. Just as forgiveness and compassion doesn't take away the pain, just the hatred of the pain. But what we do is we learn to meet that regret with compassion and with forgiveness. And then kind of see, oh, the judging mind is trying to, it's Mara attack again. The judging mind is comparing me to others, and we're equally worthy. No, there's no hierarchy of worth. Everyone, equality, equally, no matter what we've done. There's that Angulimala. You familiar with Angulimala? Angulimala is this character in the lifetime of the Buddha who's a serial killer and joins the Sangha, and he's murdered all of these people. And talk about unworthiness and having been a bad person, like seriously, had been an unskillful, confused being. But he joined the Sangha and he purified his karma and he forgave and asked for forgiveness. And, there's a whole story about it. But it's one of the Buddhist stories that shows no matter what you've done, you can wake up, you can get free. You still have goodness within you. And that the Buddha, quickly, embraced him and let him into the Sangha and said, this is a community for everyone that wants to be free. And this human potential for awakening is open to everyone, not just good people. Thank God for us.
I would be in big trouble.
All of us would, and not just us recovering addicts. Nobody would get in the door.
Thank you, Noah.
You're welcome. Elle, please jump in.
Hey, Noah. So it was interesting tonight when we were doing this meditation. I had this sense of something that's been happening that I hadn't noticed. In all of these kind of telescoping meditations, the compassion meditation, Tonglen, where we keep going telescoping out, let's say, and we're starting with the self. Whoa. And then that I had this sense of like if my husband were in those categories, all of them, except for the self one, that I'm not entailed in his happiness. So when you mentioned conditioning before, we're so conditioned to feel responsible for other people's happiness, to do the right thing, to shape ourselves for their happiness. And then part of my addiction is that I need to, I feel the need to, I don't need to slide out sideways when somebody bumps me or I've done something wrong or some relational conflict happens and I get scared. And so there's something about these meditations that's been working on my psyche, I think. And I was able to feel more of my selfness. And then this notion that other people are 100% responsible for their own actions. And I'm feeling it working on me in an unconscious way. And I love that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And you just said it. And it's the meditation next week, equanimity.
Right.
In order to balance all of this love that we're sending out and all of this compassion and appreciative joy, and we have to come back to the balancing quality of understanding that everyone has their own karma.
Right.
And our wishes for them. I mean, equanimity, and we'll get into it next week. It's, it's Buddhist Al-Anon, it's the antidote to codependency and to controlling and
Yeah.
And many of us, that's one of the manifestations of our craving and our addictive tendencies is wanting to control others and feeling overly responsible, or like Dean was just saying, feeling like they're more worthy than us. And this is where the kind of awakening that Buddhism is offering us, and these practices are offering us, balance with, I care about you, I love you, I appreciate you, and I know I can't make you happy.
My job is to cause you no harm.
Cause no harm, or as little as possible.
Right.
Let's not have too high of a bar, marriage, you're going to cause a little harm to each other, you're going to offend each other, all of that. But yes, that's why we have our precepts and our training on how we communicate and how we show up. Yes. Great. And just love what you're saying about the more we do it, it works.
It's also the addition of we're not only staying sober, we're awakening.
Yes.
And that helps us to.
Well, and I can also frame this
being
whole
sober.
thing. Yes, staying sober, but also it's like relapse prevention. Like, what do people go back to the old behaviors about? Around unworthiness, we relapse. Around resentment, we relapse. Around jealousy, we relapse. Around, all of this stuff. Yes, awakening, and also solid emotional sobriety, so that we're less likely to go back to the old behaviors. So these become awakening practices and relapse prevention practices.
Thank you. Thanks, Noah.
Ben, last one.
Hi, Noah. Thank you for your service. My question is about if you have any suggestions around how I might apply my practice to better find bottom lines and boundaries when it comes to non-substance processes and behaviors that are pleasurable, and finding that point, how much is too much of a good thing, and when am I stepping into the realm of too much?
It's a great question. It's important for every single one of us, and there's no way for me to answer it. I mean, I guess the answer is we just have to bring awareness to am I suffering about this? Am I causing harm to myself or to someone else? Like Elle was just saying, like, but it's only the individual can answer. Has this become a repetitive cycle that I'm now creating suffering for myself or someone else about? You have to know that. Only you can know that. I mean, sometimes people around us know it even before we know it. I don't feel like I can give a good answer here, but I feel like it's the right question. And by continuing to bring this question to, has this, my relationship to money or sex or food or whatever behavior, has it become addictive? Am I, suffering about this? And then check in with other people that have experience with it. It's a lot of what we're here for the Sangha, and talking to people and telling people the specifics, not here in the group, but, taking people aside and saying, hey, this is what my behavior is like, and this is what it feels like, and I'm looking for some support around it. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's enough for tonight. Next week, equanimity, which is the, as I just said, the balancing factor of these heart practices. And I look forward to that conversation. I guess it doesn't matter where I am since we're all online, but I'm taking a holiday next week. I'm going to New Orleans, and I'll do the class on Thursday night from New Orleans. And I'll see you guys next week on Thursday. If anybody here is in New Orleans, send me a message. Let me know. That's it. Last question. I'm going to stop.